blow it in the playoffs.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Puck and Leafs podcast. I'm your host, Joe Choffs, with my boy, Coach Frank. And Frankie, we've been saying we got to get back onto the content. We got to create a podcast. It's the quarter point of the Leaf season. We got to get some stuff out there. And I agreed with you. And then when you told me that Bobby Bottles was going to be joining us, I said, all right, let's hop on tonight. Put the kids to bed. We'll figure it out. If it's 11 p.m., 12 p.m., it don't matter. Bobby Bottles is back with us for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, as a parent in charge of another human life. It's crazy, I know, but here he is. Welcome back, Bobby. It's good to see you, buddy.
Great. It's great that I got to be up in a couple hours to change some diapers and feed some babies, but
there's no shot you're doing any of that. Your wife is way too cool.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I can actually see Rob like with the bottle himself. He's like checking it out first. Make sure it's room temp.
He drank it all. We're all good.
It's funny. We were chatting before, and I was saying, I couldn't believe Rob's changing a diaper. So now that I'm donning on him, I just see Rob using like one of his like 25 different like men's league jerseys or like his whole
from the ASHL.
Whatever jerseys,
yeah,
put
Canland Thursday nights.
Wrap it around the kid, and sort of like one of those Hillcrest Summit jerseys or something.
Frankie, inflation, man. He's got to save money somewhere, right?
Exactly. Hey, they absorb. You know what I mean? Like, maybe a good idea.
A lot of Toronto Red Wings stuff he's getting draped in just so he can destroy it and I can throw it out.
I'm not going there.
Bobby, you may actually really enjoy this podcast because your Canucks, before you even get to the Leafs, your Canucks are looking mighty fine. And usually we just rip on them all the time. But, man, they've got off to a great start. Do you think it's for real?
Yeah, it's like basically a little coaching change. And these guys are firing on all cylinders. Who had on their bingo card Quinn Hughes would have more points at this point than Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl? Because I didn't see that one coming.
But we all knew how good Quinn Hughes was, but he's just taking it to the next level, right?
The whole
he's
team
playing great. Demko's playing unbelievable, which is like the backbone of that team. And then you've got Pettersson up the middle. So they've got all the ingredients that you really need to be a Stanley Cup contender. The goaltending, the number one D, the number one center. It's just they really hadn't put it together until this year. So we'll see if they can continue it. I mean,
so Rick Tocchet thing, I think. Let's lead into the Leafs with this because I saw the panel was talking about Canada's best hope for a Stanley Cup, and I believe that the Leafs got the most votes in that area. Would you guys agree?
No, because it's the Leafs, and they'll find a way to mess it up, even if they were the long, big favorites.
What about better than the? Who would you say has a better chance of the Cup, Vancouver or Toronto?
See, the thing with Vancouver is they've been good for 20 games. For 4 years they were terrible, and now they've been good for 20 games. So I don't know if I would be able to grant them that status. But like I said, they got the ingredients that a Stanley Cup contender would need. So I probably still lean Leafs, even though I don't have much confidence in that. But it's only because it's such a small sample size for the Canucks.
For me, better team, Vancouver, better chance to get, because there's less resistance, the Leafs. I think there's less
resistance in the East.
Yes, because you don't got
in the Atlantic Division.
You don't have Colorado out there. You don't have Vegas. You don't have Seattle's not playing very well. But those three teams.
LA
has been tremendous too. So I think once you get past kind of Boston, Florida's beatable, I think. Montreal, obviously.
Florida's better than Boston right now, to be honest. I think Boston is being held up by elite goaltending right now. Their forward group, I'm not too crazy about. Their defense is awesome, and they play a really well-structured game defensively. Frankie can probably talk better about this more than I, but they don't give you a lot. They keep you to the outside, and then they transition and beat you the other way quickly. But, I'm taking the Leafs forward group over the Boston Bruins forward group any day of the week, twice on Sunday. But their defense and their goalies are playing lights out, no doubt. Can their goaltending keep up the 940 plus save percentage for the rest of the year? I don't know. I don't see it. But they'll probably land like Lindholm from Calgary at the deadline and get better. So
88 from Boston is just unreal.
Yeah,
he's unreal. It's silly.
For me, what I love about the Canucks, and I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it again. You show me like a team that takes the identity of their coach, and they will be a successful team. And what I love about the Canucks is, they got a number one centerman in Pettersson. They got a number one defenseman in Quinn Hughes. They got a number one goalie in Demko. Like, a no doubter. Demko's a very good goalie, and I've always thought that. Last year was a bit of a hiccup, but everybody was bad with the Canucks last year. But Demko is an outstanding goaltender. Then they surround those pieces with guys that talk it, said, like, I want these type of players. Like, they now have a defense core. I'm not saying they're the fastest defense core, but you try playing against Carson Soucy, who's 6'5", Zadorov, who's 6'6", Myers, who's 6'8". They're going to hurt you. In a 7-game series, they're going to hurt you. JT Miller's a prick. He's very tough to play against. So I like the fact that their forward group may not be as talented or skilled as Toronto, maybe not as far off, from that skill set, but I just like the makeup of those four lines. And good on Sam Lafferty. He's had a nice little transition into playing with the Canucks, who apparently was a extra player according to Sheldon Keefe. Yeah. So good one there, Sheldon. But no, I'm looking at the Canucks right now because I think they could be more successful in a weaker division, out in the West and the Pacific. And in a 7-game series, I actually think they could advance further than the Leafs could. So I'll take them right now. But for me, still, it's like I look at a team like the Dallas Stars. Like I picked them to win the Cup. I just think Ottinger has the chance to to get them there because he's he's a proven he's on that kind of that next level to get. I'd say like he's that next goalie. I think he's going to take that step in the playoffs. And I think they're going to make one more move. To be honest with you, like they're good as it is, but they were right in the Patrick Kane sweepstakes, so which tells me that they're probably going to add. And like Dallas is just that team that's just so well built. So I still have them out in the West. But if I'm looking at a team that I'm going to be scared of for the next 5 years, Joe, you said it, the LA Kings scare the shit out of me, man. And if I'm looking to build a team, that's how I build a team. They're like, there's no guy other than Trevor Moore who's under 6'1" on that team. It's like, that's how you win. That's how you win consistently. That's the way hockey should be played. And like I'm hoping Treliving is taking some notes because that's how I would want my Leafs team built.
Well, let's use that to transition to the Leafs because after all, this is the Puck and Leafs podcast. We're talking about the Leafs. Sure. You mentioned Zadorov with the Canucks. They end up landing him. There was a lot of chatter about the Leafs really interested in him and Treliving going after him. What did you make of the return that Calgary got for him, and were you upset? It wasn't that much, but obviously we hear that the Leafs needed Calgary to eat some of that, and Calgary wasn't interested in doing so. So he ends up going for a third and a fifth.
So we can only speculate, right? If we take what the insiders were saying, the fact that the Leafs were trying to acquire both Tanev and Zadorov in the same deal, but they would have to retain 50% on both Zadorov and Tanev. Tanev, I believe, makes 4 and change. Zadorov 3 and change. That's a lot. Anytime you ask a team to retain, your price goes up. If you're asking a team to retain on 2 players, what do you think that return could have been? Right? Again, I'm only speculating. There's for them not to pull the trigger. I think there's still some question marks with Klingberg if they can actually think he's actually done for the year, kind of rubber stamp to say, yeah, he's done, which then allows them to allocate that, that $4 million somewhere else. Was the price acceptable? Yeah. Could they have paid it? Yeah, they have a third and a fifth. So they could have paid it, but you know what, Joe? Again, in putting my shoes, myself in Treliving's shoes, and as a fan, you want to see the same thing over and over, where you're just going to go and get another bottom third pairing defenseman. They've done it in the last couple of years. It's the same rinse and repeat. You got to give a little bit of credit to Lagesson and Benoit. These guys are career AHLers, and they're doing okay, in the minutes. And the one knock on Keefe has always been they bring these guys up, they play like 4 minutes a game. You don't know what you have in them, and you're overplaying Riley, 30 minutes. At least now Lagesson and Benoit are playing in that 14 to 15 minute time on ice on average, and they're getting results. Benoit's doing well on the penalty kill. Even Timmins is close to 20 minutes now. So that's a guy who was in your press box for a lot of the year last year, right? So I think when I look at it from there, I like Zadorov. I think it would have been a nice fit, but the fact that we have guys probably might do the same thing for a lot less, I'm glad True Living didn't pay that. Tanev, I think, is going to cost maybe a second, if I had to guess, and possibly a prospect like Abrazizi. That's a price I'd pay for Tanev. And I also think they're going to, if they make that deal, they'll re-sign him. Like there's rumors that that's a guy you could probably re-sign who's from Toronto, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I foresee coming, because there's not really much else on the market.
The guys you mentioned, Benoit, Lagesson, Timmins, like they're giving you good minutes, sure.
Yeah.
But I think the more time goes on that you have to keep giving these guys minutes, I think that's when you start to see that they're not at the level that you expect your team to be, right? Mm-hmm. It's clear that they need upgrades on defense. And that's even when their defense is fully healthy. I agree with you. Zadorov would have been nice, but he is what he is. He's like a physical bottom pairing defenseman who would have definitely bumped guys out of the lineup and been good on this team. I think they need to aim higher, like a first pair defenseman, which would then slot everybody else in their correct spot. So is Tanev that guy? I don't know. He's 33 years old, but his analytics, you guys know I'm a big analytics guy. His analytics are great. And he defends really well, which they need a lot of help with. And he blocks shots. He'd be great, but I kind of want someone even better than him. And that's probably going to cost a lot more. Well, not probably. It definitely will. But who is that guy? Like, who is available that is a top pairing guy? And this is the problem they run into. And this is why if I'm a selling team and I have a guy like that, man, you can get a lot for someone like that, because there's going to be a lot of teams looking for defensemen, especially top pairing quality defensemen like that. So,
well, look at Vancouver last year with Philip Hronek. I mean, kind of came out of nowhere. I think it was a first rounder they paid for him.
They paid a first rounder, and it was a good deal for them.
And people were saying
he's been excellent this year.
Yeah, and now they basically got Quinn Hughes is a 1, Hronek's a 2. He's like a 1A 2. He slots in perfectly there, right? So that's it. Might be just a team like Detroit who's got a position of power where they have defensemen coming out their ears right now. But I don't know how many teams are like that. Like maybe Dallas have a plethora. Dallas seems like they have a plethora of talent everywhere.
They ain't trading a top pairing defenseman, not when they're going for the cup. That's
exactly.
It might be a guy that
I'm looking at some teams here, like other than maybe Chicago, possibly Minnesota, San Jose. Forget it. Edmonton, you're probably not making a deal there. Anaheim, again, you got like maybe Cam Fowler, but like it's like to Joe's point, there's nothing that really be like. That's the guy, So
what's wrong with Tanev though? Like he plays such like as a Canucks fan, man, he played such a nice game. It was quiet. He blocked shots, make a first pass.
That get you a little scared. He does tend to block shots with his face. So I don't think there's a stat for that, but he might be the ideal guy to slot in with Riley. Like he's a right-handed defenseman. He can chew up minutes. He's a lot more mobile than Luke Shen was, and Shen did an admirable job last year, right? Yeah. So, and kind of what you want is, you have, again, hypothetically, Joe, you'll have Riley and Tanev, and they'll chew up, obviously, your 22, 25 minutes. Wouldn't it nice to see a second pair of McCabe and Liljegren, or any combination of Brody, Liljegren, because Liljegren's a right-handed, and he'll play in your top 4. And then, take your guess with your third pair, Timmins, Brody, Giordano. Like that's the type of, again, is it a Stanley Cup defense? I would actually go get a second guy, but that's just me, because they've proven they can't win with this defense. But what else are you willing to give up that you can, other than contract space with Klingberg? The first has got to be in there. So they're not going into that draft for the first. They're not. There's no way they're keeping that first. So are they using that first on a third line centerman or a second or whatever, or are they going to go big game hunting? So, and I think they're just waiting for other teams to fall out of the race. There is one team though that I'll keep my eye on, because I don't think they're will be there in the end, because the Metro is so tough. That's the Islanders. The Islanders have a couple defensemen there, and Lou needs an offensive boost. I look at a guy like, I don't have contracts in front of me, but like, I look at Adam Pelech. I wouldn't say like Dobson's probably not available. He's a young,
they're not.
But I look at a guy like Pellick. He's really good. Who's the other guy I'm thinking of? Big shots. Ryan Pulock. Yeah, like not big names, but they are top 4
effective.
Yeah. So that's the type of deal I would look to make. That's where I would send Robertson back in the deal. To be quite honest with you, that's a match for me.
Yeah. What has been your overall impression with the Leafs this season? Are you more of a glass half full type of guy? Like, do you subscribe to the theory that Keefe said out loud, there's 23 teams below us in the standings and we haven't even played our best hockey yet. We've got half of our defense has been injured. Our starting goalie, who was supposed to be a starting goalie, hasn't been good at all. Or are you more of a glass half empty where you're like, man, the only team that has less regulation wins than the Leafs right now are the Montreal Canadiens. They can't win regulation. They don't get enough leads. And when they do have leads, they can't hold the leads because they can't play defense well enough. A lot of issues with this team. Where do you fall on that metric right there?
Man, you're gonna make me be the bad guy. I'm a glass half empty guy, to be honest with you. I just seen this show too many times. I don't want to be negative, Joe, but I see the big 4 again, and all, like Marner is kind of not himself, which he'll pick it up, I'm sure, at some point. He's too skilled not to, but it's just the same mistakes over and over. Nylander's been outstanding. Matthews been relatively good but again, is this team, they want them to be relatively good, or do you need all 4 of these guys going, leading the way, right? For me, it really goes with the coaching. And until you get a guy who knows how to manage ice time properly, this is going to be a problem. Your forwards are running, Matthews and Marner are running 23 minutes a game. You cannot this is not McDavid and Draisaitl here. You know what I mean? You're not playing your third line, who is Domi, Robertson, and Yarncroke. They're giving you solid minutes, solid production in their minutes. And Domi's only hitting 11 minutes. Robertson's barely hitting 10. You're moving Yarncroke up and down the lineup. Is like, it's just not sustainable, Joe. And that's how injuries happen, right? And then, it's not a good vibe I get, to be quite honest with you. So I just think that the roster's mismanaged, the ice time's mismanaged, and you're one injury away from a goalie who has zero confidence in himself, and that's Samsonov. So I'm thrilled that Wall has taken the net. I think it's fantastic, but like everything, it's going to be ups and downs. And when he comes down, is Samsonov going to be the guy to give him some minutes? I don't feel comfortable about it. And defense, like you said, Joe, the defense is giving them what they can, all things considering. But even that, the levee's going to break soon enough. So I'm a little disappointed as well in Bertuzzi. I thought there was a little more there. I think Domi's coming along okay. Like, I like him in that third line slot, but just too many ifs. There's just too many ifs. I'm willing to give them until kind of Christmas, but I think what you see is what you get. I don't know if there's anything left at that next level, but I do think a trade's gonna happen sooner rather than later.
Did you guys think they were going to play with a little bit more jam this year?
Yes.
Knowing that you had those 3 guys, you brought in 3
I expected it.
I thought it was going to be similar to 2013. You guys would remember 2013 a lot better than I would, where they brought in kind of these fighters, and it seemed like it freed up. Guys just started to play free and easy, and they kind of like scared teams to death and like bully teams around. I thought it was going to be similar. Bertuzzi, like you said, he has not looked great at times.
He's been better of late. He's been much better of late.
And Domi too. He got out to a really.
When they put Bertuzzi on the Nylander Tavares line, like, that line was buzzing, and they were very clearly their best line. And then they had to switch it up because the Matthews and Marner combination was just so ineffective. And that's a problem in itself, because they're supposedly 2 best players, and they haven't played like it at all this year. So I guess if you're a half full, glass half full type guy, you're saying, look, they have this many points, and their 2 best players haven't even played close to their potential, what we're used to seeing. When that comes out, how much better will they be? I'm going to be honest. I'm very pessimistic.
Join the club.
I'm glass half empty, like you guys. I'm going to use a line that the kids are using right now. The Leafs are very mid. Okay, they're very mid. Like they're just, it seem like a very middle of the pack team. They're like in that like 7 to like maybe 13 range, best team in the league. And it's just not a team that I have confidence making a deep playoff run. Now, it's still December. There's lots of hockey to be played. There's going to be changes to this roster because Treliving is going to try to make some moves. We'll see where it goes, but yeah, not confident as of yet.
The Bertuzzi thing, I don't know if people were able to watch him last year, but he was a beast with the Bruins. But they put him in positions where his strengths really showed what his worth was. That guy makes his money 3 to 5 feet in front of the net. I don't understand.
How is that a coaching problem, Frank, and not a Bertuzzi problem?
Oh, I'll tell you right now. Like for me, he's in front of the net on that power play one. I've had enough of.
Who are you taking off then?
Oh, it's easy. That's Tavares. Easy for me.
Come on, Tavares is good in front of the net too, Frankie.
For me, he's the black hole of the Leafs. The puck touches the stick, it's gone. He can't stick handle. All right, he's making low percentage passes. Yeah, okay, great. He's in front of the net, but like, I need more from that. And Bertuzzi for me is stronger in front of the net. All right, he showed in the playoffs he can score from in games that actually matter. And you know what? Sometimes it's a kick in the ass that these guys need. Remember, Joe, the one thing that the coach has that's the most valuable thing is ice time, right? There have been times where I've won Marner off the power play one this year because those stupid giveaways at the red line. The bounce back pass that's gone back on breakaways.
That's systemic. That's a coaching thing.
Or getting offside on entry zones because he wants to make one more extra move. But it's Joe. It's like coaching with kids, right? Like we have 10 kids on our team. That's 5 and 5. These boys know they're going out every second shift, right? So if you're constantly putting these guys back on that power play one, those same 5 guys, and for a while there, it wasn't working. Why isn't Keefe making that change? You're telling me Tyler Bertuzzi playing on a power play with Pasternak, Marchand, and Bergeron couldn't play on the power play with Matthews, Marner, etc.? It's like sometimes you just need that kick. You need a different look. Keep the other teams guessing. It's not this. That's what I mean. It's the same stuff over and over and over. And that's what frustrates me. I'm not saying I know more than Keefe, but it's just sometimes you need a little different look.
Conspiracy theory here. What's he really going to do? Because if Marner and Matthews say this guy's not playing us enough or he's taking away ice time, who are they going to get rid of? Matthews and Marner or Keefe?
I don't think he's not going to take away ice time. Like they shouldn't be playing 23 minutes a night in the regular season.
What about power play time? Like Frank's saying, you're making mistakes on the power play and yet you're rolling out there. Then there's no accountability. And exactly. And watching his press conferences, it's like he's trying to send signals to the upper. It's like he's talking to his team through the media. Like we have to change our identity after what happened with Marchand. He was like ripping them in the media where it's like he's almost saying like I don't like the way this team is going, but I can't really do anything. My hands are tied. That's what it sounds like to me. And maybe I got my conspiracy hat on that one, but.
Did you see that tirade he went on the other day on the bench?
Yeah.
And that was after they scored. That was after they scored.
I think he's frustrated. I think,
and I'm just glad he didn't walk it back, like he did last year.
Well, sure, he's frustrated. They haven't played well enough, and they can't win regulation. Man, 5 regulation wins in 23 games that they played, or 24, whatever. It's not nearly enough.
That is.
Yeah, we all know the definition of insanity. You don't think he knows? Like they're not playing well yet. He's not changing anything. There's something to this, and his post-game press conferences are very like cryptic to me. That it's like him saying I don't know who he's talking to, but I think he's saying I don't like what's going on in this room, and there's something going on in that room there. There's something wrong with the room.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%. That is no question.
Why do you say that, Rob?
Again, he's talking through the media, which coaches shouldn't be doing.
Coaches do it all the time. The time.
Not this much. It seems like after every game he's talking through the media now. And the Marchand thing really, really stood out to me where he really hammered his team in the media where that's like behind closed doors kind of thing. You lay into the team behind, but I think he's frustrated.
He laid into the team that they didn't stand up, and then like most recently, he said that the media blew it out of proportion. It's
No, they
like,
didn't.
well, Sheldon, you were the one who said you hated the response, so it wasn't the media that blew it up. You blew it up because you said that.
And he's
Don't
yelling
blame the
from the
media on
bench.
that
He
one.
was pissed, and he rightfully
Yeah,
so. I mean,
absolutely.
he had all the reason to be. So,
Well,
All right,
buckle up
so
because I think you're going to get a lot more of the same.
all right, so obviously I think we all agree that defense is the biggest need, right? But would you still like to see them grab a forward? And if so, what type of position, what type of player are you looking for if that were to happen?
is it too early to say Connor McDavid, or is that too early in the pod? Do I have to wait on that one?
That's a good question. I want to say something, but I don't want to make it seem like he's doing anything wrong. But Matthew Knies is going to be a very good player for this team for years if they, if and when they sign him. I think sometimes he's a little out of his element playing top 3 minutes. I'd love to see him back on the third line, giving that Domi line some size. I still think Robertson's getting dealt for something this year if they want to go big game hunting. I'm not saying he's got a lot of value, but he's a young player who can score, who might change his
I
scenery,
think
might
he's
be good.
regaining some value though.
I think he's
which
got
is
value.
good.
Yeah.
So what I'm picturing is if they can make a deal for a forward, and there's that number 1 pick, that first round pick that might be in play, you go out and get a guy who can play true top 6 with impactful minutes, which drops Knies down to the third line with Domi and Yarncroke would be I think it would be an excellent third line.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping they would grab, go out and grab. I don't know who that is. Don't ask me. I don't have any names top of my head.
Spitballing. Yeah.
But that's the type of deal
I like
I'd
that
like
idea,
to
Frankie.
see. Yeah.
I would be looking at the D. I wouldn't even be the forwards.
But see,
I
I
we've
think you have to look at the
already.
forwards. The D hasn't been the issue the last couple of years. They can't score in the playoffs.
Yeah,
right? They scored 2 goals for 7 games in a row last playoffs.
But this
what
is
has Keith done? He's rolled the 4 guys out there as much as he can. It can't win like that.
This is a 4, but this is a 4. Like you're tied at the end of the day. You're tied to those 4. Like, at the end of the day, you're paying them all the money. You are at the mercy of them. If they play well in the playoffs, then. But I don't know who you're going to add and what you're going to add. For me, it's upgrade the defense. I wouldn't even upgrade the forwards.
Well, that's obviously priority number 1.
No, he will. I think we were talking about if there was a forward,
yeah,
a forward.
Like give Robertson's like a bigger role. See how he handles it. Like this kid still does not. He doesn't play a lot and I think he's like they've been fine. Like you said, since he joined Domi, he's electrified Domi. Like Domi's looked a lot better since Robertson jumped on his line.
Center. Domi's way better at center than on the wing.
The thing is, I don't think Keith trusts Robertson defensively.
No. It's
like,
it's that coaching.
That's why he won't play in the top 6.
It's that coaching mentality of, well, he's a rookie, he might hurt us in the defensive zone.
But you're playing a rookie in the top 6 with Knies. So what's the difference?
I think sometimes coaches can get a hard on for a guy, and then sometimes you can just jump into PG. I forgot this is a PG podcast, and then you can jump. You just have guys that are just for some reason they just don't like certain guys, and I think Robertson it's in that. I don't think Keith really likes them.
I'm just shocked that the Nylander Marner swap has lasted this long. To be quite honest with you, I kind of like it.
He's going back the other way.
No, give it some runway.
Joel, I know that. I agree with you.
Against Boston, I thought they were the better team, and they both lines were actually really good.
Boston got a couple lucky goals. They were the better team that night.
No, I get it, but just the sustained pressure and just the different looks that line gives. I always think Matthews is better defensively without Marner there because now he's kind of relied on to be that defensive presence on that line, and I like that. So now you have you give it both looks, right? And it's just that, man, with Tavares, you just can't keep up with Marner. It's like you look at Marner on the screen and like Tavares is like coming here now. It's like it's on a delay.
Well, he's kept up with Nylander pretty good, so like he should be able to keep up with him.
I know.
Tavares has been pretty good this year so far. He's been.
Listen, it's not like I don't like him. It's just when you want more, but you're not going to get it, and
Would you say it's like would you say it's like a cruise liner, and then right beside it is a little speedboat flying by, and it kind of looks like that, where it's just
fair enough.
That's a good one.
Tugboat.
All right, boys. Before we get on out of here, I think transition to like a Jays podcast for a second, because there's like speculation on Twitter, or X, I should say X, that talks are progressing with Shohei Ohtani to join the Jays. And this reminds me of, like, if this were to actually happen and Shohei Ohtani signs with the Blue Jays, what do you think would be bigger, Ohtani to the Jays or McDavid to the Leafs?
Like within the city? Like, what would be more impactful?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to say within the city. I want to say McDavid, but I don't think so. I think Shohei would be. He's arguably the biggest star east of a certain point. Whatever, if you want to say from the eastern part of the world, if you want to say we're the West, that's the east. Eastern part of the world. There's nobody even close to him right now. I mean, he's one top 3, top 4 biggest stars in sports right now.
Yeah, but we're not asking about the world. We're asking for Toronto. What's a bigger deal?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, you get a guy that's going to, like, I'm hearing numbers like he might get 600 million, and the first, like, all the comments you're reading are he's going to make it back in jersey sales almost immediately. It's going to be
that's a lot of jerseys to sell $600 million worth.
Hey, listen. There's a lot of people that live where where Shohei's from, so it would open up an even bigger market for me. So for as big as Connor McDavid coming here would be, it's a very diverse city. I think a guy like Shohei would cause just as much of a stir as Connor would. For as big as Connor McDavid is, and for as big as the Leafs are, I still think Shohei would just. He's kind of got you guys remember the Ichiro thing, where it's like wherever Ichiro went, kind of there was the Japanese media there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was more than a baseball event. It was a show, and I think this guy would carry the same. He carries the same clout.
Well, maybe the Jays would actually get on like Fox, or
they'll get a Sunday night baseball game. They'd get a Sunday night baseball game for sure.
You know what, Rob? Like, I don't think there's a wrong answer here, because Shohei, they're saying, might be the greatest talent that ever played this game, right? Yeah. It's like, can you imagine Babe Ruth being on, well, the Jays weren't a team back then, but like, pick a small market team. Well, I used to say that. Pick a team like Milwaukee, with Babe Ruth going to Milwaukee or something, right? It's like, here you have a global phenomenon that has transcended the game. And not only is he playing for a city, playing for a country, right? That's, we forget about that, right? But I'm going to go on the other side and say, you're talking about the mecca of hockey. And if we're talking about Toronto, not the world, Toronto, this is not a hockey city. This is a Leaf city.
I agree.
The Leafs drive this city. And we've always wanted, like, Austin Matthews, when all is said and done, will probably be one of, if not the most talented, could be maybe the greatest Leaf to ever put on a jersey. Okay. However, he's not the hometown boy. He's not the savior, as we call him.
That guy's playing a generational player that comes around once every generation.
I don't want to use the G word, but sometimes you may have used McDavid and Gretzky in the same sentence in terms of talent. Gretzky never had a chance to play for the Leafs. Close.
Had a chance.
He
wanted to.
Stavros screwed that one up.
Yeah.
But if McDavid ever put on a Leaf jersey in the prime of his career, because it's not far off, right? That would be the biggest thing to ever happen to this organization. And I don't want to say, like, I could actually see it happening. Whether it's 2 years from now, 8 years from now, whatever. But I think that would be a bigger influence on the city. You want to talk about jersey sales. You want to talk about kids being Leaf fans. Oh boy, put McDavid in a Leaf jersey. Like, it's monumental for this organization in the city. You know, even for the minor hockey contingent. So I think it would be a bigger impact on the city itself if McDavid, and if they're winning. McDavid coming here is one thing, but McDavid coming here and winning, I don't think that can be touched.
I remember when the Leafs signed Tavares on that July 1st, that was like took over every news outlet, everything. It would be that times 100.
Oh,
and I think there's a strong possibility that it does happen. People in Edmonton will hate us for saying that, but I just think at some point he wants to come home and play. I actually think the Leafs have a better chance of getting him when this contract is up in, what is it, 2-3 years, if he wins a cup in Edmonton. Because then, like Gretzky, he could be like, all right, my job here's done. I put in 12 years. I got the cup. I'm going to go try something different. Whereas if he doesn't win and they're a really good team, it's like, I'm going to abandon this team in this city right now while we're on the cusp of winning. I don't see that happening, or it's a lot less likely anyways.
On the cusp,
I think all Leaf fans should cheer for the Oilers if the Leafs don't win.
I don't
as
think
hard as it would be to listen to all those Oiler fans, I think it actually benefits them in the long run.
So, Joe, just to help you out here, Connor McDavid's got 2 more years after this year. Okay. Yep. Draisaitl has 1 more year after this year.
That's correct.
A lot's gonna come down to if Draisaitl wants to stay or he wants to go. Because if he goes, that's like, who has he got to play with? So we might know more of this after next year. So let's revisit this conversation. But right off the bat, I know what's going on right now. But if I have to say to you guys, if you give a percentage, what's more likely to happen? Shohei signing with the Jays or McDavid signing with the Leafs? If it actually, you know, has an opportunity, because there's no slam dunk right now for Shohei, that's for sure.
I'm gonna say Shohei for this reason. We don't even know if Connor's gonna be a free agent. And we know Shohei's a free agent, and we know it's for me, it's the Dodgers or the Jays. I think it's those two teams, and there's an outside chance maybe the Cubs, but I don't think so. I think it's down to those two. So if you're going to tell me that, I'm going to say 35% is Shohei to the Jays, whereas McDavid's 15%, 10%. I couldn't go any higher than that because we don't even know if he might resign tomorrow. And then we don't know.
I say McDavid has a better chance, even though I'm going to look like a moron tomorrow when this comes out and he's signing with the Jays. Imagine that. The Jays never land the biggest fish on the market like this. It's never happened, and
I don't know.
They're so rarely even in the conversation with these big players. So I almost feel like Shohei's camp is using the Jays as leverage to get more money out of the Dodgers because, listen, he's from Japan. It's a lot easier for him if he lives in LA to get home, talk to family come visit if he's there than it is Toronto. So I think there's that angle that you have to be mindful of as well.
See, I'm on the other side.
That's why he signed with the Angels in the first place, I think. Why else would he have signed with them?
I think the Padres are trying to use the Jays to boost Soto's. I don't think the Shohei things. I don't think this is smokescreen. I think this is a real legit thing. And Rogers is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You're telling me they wouldn't want to have Shohei's face plaster all over their equipment going out, like the commercials you're going to see with that guy. He might not even have time to play baseball. He's going to be doing commercials all day.
I'll even go one step further.
My Ignite package. I'm going to call Rogers to complain. No, I want Shohei on the line. I don't want to talk to you. You're paying him $600 million. Get him on the line.
Well, you don't want to speak to Gurdeep from Nova Scotia on your tech support. You want Hey, I'll even take you one step further, Rob. I think the Padres are using the Jays to increase their package to the Yankees for Soto.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They're using I don't believe in this. The Soto one might happen, but I think they're using the Jays. The Jays are not being used in this. This is a
I think they're going to miss out on both.
They very well might. But a couple of years ago, like we didn't think they were going to get Gausman 2-3 years ago, and they got him for a pretty cheap price. So guys like this don't hit the market. And imagine if you're the Angels that got nothing, didn't make the playoffs, didn't trade this guy. Like what idiot? And I wonder if we'll see what Edmonton decides to do next year and the year after, because they might have to move those two guys, and the package that they would get for those guys be outrageous.
All right, boys.
Right.
We went 40 minutes or so. Like, that's pretty good.
Okay.
Hey,
that's good.
All right. Hopefully it doesn't take us 6 weeks to record the next episode. And Bobby, hopefully it doesn't take you 8 months to get back on here. But we understand your circumstances. Got to take care of the little man. That's okay. We've been there, done that. Don't miss it. Not at all.
It's fine. When he starts running around, that's when I'm in trouble. That's when I got to do the chasing. And
you actually have it's like pretty easy at this point.
Yeah.
When they're so young, is that all they really do is like eat, sleep, and poop, right?
Well, I can tell you right now, Rob, the good news is you have a lot of hockey equipment lined up between Joe's boy and my boy. You have the different levels of skates, different shoulder pad, like all that stuff. We got you covered, bud.
I already got a text from someone saying I got skates lined up because someone's already grown out of skates.
Look at that. So.
Hey, I'll take them. Hockey's expensive, man. If he wants to play hockey, I can't be paying full price for stuff.
Sign him up for bowling instead. Save yourself the heartache.
We can call him Big Earn.
What?
All right, guys, let's get on out of here. Everyone, thank you again for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button. Drop us a line, a comment. We really appreciate it, and it does help us out. So thanks again, and we'll catch you next time. Let's go Leafs.